What's up guys, and welcome to another episode here at the Bonsai Supply. I am Jerome, and today we're going to work on this Willow Leaf Ficus. So one of the things that we're going to do here today is we're going to defoliate the entire tree. What that does is every time you defoliate a tree, it brings back more branches, so it promotes branch growth. It also promotes the overall vigor of the tree. It also promotes a lot of back budding. Another thing that it does is it's going to bring the leaves back a little smaller, and if you continue doing this, you will be able to reduce the leaves over time. Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to repot this tree. I think it's time that it goes into a little bit of a bigger pot and something that's a little nicer. The tree has only been in this pot here for about 8 months, so not all that long, and already the roots are starting to come out everywhere. One of the questions that we get all the time is, when do I know that it's time to repot my tree? When your tree is starting to push itself out of the pot, like right here, that's when you know it's time to repot the tree. Now what that means is that the tree is root bound and the roots are starting or already have started to grow in circles like this, and that's why you see these roots go in circles, and that means that the tree is pushing itself out. Another way to tell if the tree is root bound is when you water and the water just runs off the top. That's when you know that the tree is root bound. Also when the water kind of pools on top of the root system and doesn't go down into the soil immediately, that's when you know that it's time to repot the tree. So another thing that we're going to do is, most of these roots here are crossing or are growing in circles around the pot, and I'm going to cut all of these circling roots out, and I'm going to take the thicker roots and I'm going to actually split them into two. And then at a later point, I'm going to come back and then cut these bigger roots back again into two. And this will create a really nice root spread all around the entire base of the tree. I'm going to wire the entire tree, and this aerial root right here is kind of at an angle. So I'm going to try to reposition it and have it come straight into the pot. I do not like how at an angle it is at the moment. This tree has been in training for a couple of years. It is very important that you actually fertilize your tree really well. Wow, that was a lot of leaves. So the next step is I'm going to have to lift the tree out of the pot. And there's something to keep in mind is, when you defoliate a tree and remove a lot of branches from the top, you have to also remove a lot of roots from the bottom. You kind of want to even the top and the bottom out a little bit. So the next step, to lift it out, I'm going to use my root sickle to drive along the pot so that I can loosen the roots and then pull the tree out easier. And then I'm going to use my wire cutters as well to actually cut out the wire. Alright, so I finally finished wiring the entire tree. So here's what I did so far. I repotted the tree. I put it into our all-purpose soil mix, which is, as always, made out of lava rock, pine bark, pumice, calcined clay, and that's it. And what I did here is I removed the old soil, and I removed a lot of the old roots. All of the roots that were crossing, like there was a really big one here that was crossing over and then going over the back. So I cut it here, and now here, hopefully, well, at the bottom actually, there's a few roots that are growing this way. I'm leaving these covered, and as they're growing stronger, this will heal, and then my whole root becomes thicker this way. I had planned to split a lot more roots than I actually did, and I ended up deciding not to split anymore. I split one in the back that I'm going to show you in just a minute. Once I started removing all of the crossing roots, all of this was actually hiding underneath these crossing roots, and it actually looks really nice, so I don't really have to go ahead and split many roots right now. This is the pot that I chose. I really like it. It has a really nice patina. It's a really old pot. This pot actually has been a present that one of my customers gifted to me. His name is Raphael. If you're watching, Raphael, thank you very much for the pot. I think I put it to some good use. He told me that the pot was around 40 to 50 years old, and now I got a hold of it, so I thought this tree looks amazing in this pot. It has a lot more room to grow. The old pot was so small, it was almost suffocating. After the repot, I wired the entire tree, and I didn't wire all of the branches. What I did is I wired the main branches and some of the secondary branches. I removed all the foliage that was growing underneath the branches. Everything that was growing straight down I removed to make it look very clean and neat. And all the branches that were growing from the top of the branches up, I cut those back as well. So now I'm starting to create some really nice layers. This right here was a very thick branch when I first acquired the tree, and I'm still healing it. I'm trying to heal it much closer to the trunk. It was starting to roll over very big, so I have to keep cutting it back and keep cutting back so that it'll heal over a lot smaller. Now, after I did my cut, I used the cut paste. We do sell this one on the website as well, the same as the scissors, the root sickle, the soil, everything that we use in these videos, we actually do sell on our website as well. Now, this cut paste comes straight from Japan, so we import it. This is like a liquid band-aid. So when you make large cuts like this, you can just dab some of this liquid band-aid on it. Now, it is orange at first, but then in a couple days it will become translucent and you will not even see it anymore. This just prevents that any moisture or too much air comes to the fresh cut wound. It also makes sure that there's not an insect infestation that can move into those freshly made cuts. After I fixed this, I drilled some pretty large screws into the trunk. That's to bring these main branches a little down because they were going up a little bit. So this is my guide wire anchor here. Then I used regular pins to actually pin this root into position. So this was at an angle before at the very beginning, and so I dug it up and now I attached it more and to the actual base of the tree. So I think this looks a lot more natural, and I hope that you guys agree with me. I use some pins to keep it in place so that it doesn't move too much. Once this root starts to attach itself to the bottom, I can remove these pins. I did the same over here. There's a very fine aerial root that I attached as well. It is a little too close to the main trunk for my taste, but for now I'm going to leave it. Hopefully I'll get some more aerial roots from the outside of the branches down. I don't know if you can see these little pins. These are actually like chopsticks that I used to, and I hammered them into the root to split the root. The root here is fairly thick. I want to split it up and have it, grow into smaller roots, and then hopefully I can split it again in the future. As this starts to heal, I can pull these pins out, and then this will be healed. So I think it came out pretty well. I grew all of the branches, as I said at the beginning. I just acquired the stump and then I started growing all the branches, and I think it's coming together quite nicely. Now, since I defoliated it, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to keep it in the shade for a couple days, maybe even a couple weeks, until the tree starts to push new foliage, and then I'm going to move it back out into the full sun. If I were to move it into the full sun right now, what might end up happening is that the sun, because it's so strong, it might actually burn all of these branches that have been freshly exposed now. So I'm very pleased with the way that this tree came out today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a little something. Please let me know what you think of my Willow Leaf Ficus, and I'll catch you guys next time.